Hey guys, my name's Eric Wilson, and today I'm going to talk about the four main types of co-GP structures. This is something that I think is pretty misunderstood by both investors and operators, and I think that's maybe because you've come across one version of a co-GP structure on past deals. So when someone says they're bringing in a co-GP or they're investing as a co-GP, we relate it back to our own experience as what that's been with co-GPs. But like most things in private equity real estate, the devil's in the details, and there isn't a one-size-fits-all co-GP. There are many different types of arrangements and creative structures when there's multiple GPs involved, and it's the responsibility of everyone involved in the deal to understand what the impact will be by having additional GPs in the deal. The first type of a co-GP that I'm going to talk about is what we call a true co-GP partnership. This is the co-GP in its purest form. This is when two operators team up, both focusing on their areas of expertise for the deal, and it's a true partnership in every sense of the word, sharing responsibilities and rewards of the deal. In these arrangements, tasks like capital raising are split 50-50, and the partners also divide up operational duties based on their strengths. For example, one partner might handle property management if they own a property management company, while the other focuses on investor relations if they have a strong investor network. This type of a co-GP structure works best when partners bring something unique to the table and their skill sets complement each other. It's a great way to leverage different strengths and create synergy in a deal. It's the most basic concept of what a co-GP is, and it gets a lot more nuanced from here depending on what the co-GP is actually bringing to the table. The second type of a co-GP, and a really common type, is the co-GP with GP money. So unlike the first type, this GP is less focused on bringing operational skills to the table, and instead their primary contribution is to provide GP capital when the sponsor doesn't have enough liquidity to bring the full GP portion of the deal. It's a pretty common structure in large deals, so let's say you're working on a $200 million transaction and it requires $80 million in equity. The GP might be expected to contribute 10 to 20% of that equity, which could be as much as $16 million. If the sponsor doesn't have enough liquidity to cover this contribution, then they might bring in a co-GP to help fund that portion. When the co-GP is investing with them as part of the GP team, they can now be true to their commitment that the GP is providing the 20% required equity, and then the 80% would be funded by the LP group. These groups that provide this type of co-GP capital, they're often family offices or niche capital providers that specialize in writing checks between 2 and 15 million. In return for this contribution, they'll typically receive some share of the GP promoted interest, fees that the GP has with the project. It's a great way for sponsors to access larger deals without having to come up with all of the GP capital themselves. The next one is a tricky one, and I'm sure you've seen this even if you didn't know exactly what it was. This is the co-GP with LP money. This type of co-GP is primarily focused on bringing LP capital to the table. Essentially, they're responsible for raising capital from investors, but they might not have a significant balance sheet of their own. More often than not, these co-GPs participate in the deal by earning fees and promote that the main sponsor charges the LPs. In other words, they make their money from the same fees as the sponsor, but without directly contributing their own funds. The way this would work in practice is when a group finds an operator who needs to raise, let's say, $5 million for their deal, but the operator doesn't have a strong enough investor network, so the networking machine co-GP comes along and says, I can use my marketing skills to raise the capital, and you pay me part of your project fees and put me on the GP team. The co-GP would then go out and try to raise the capital for the deal, and they would tell their investors that they have pre-negotiated terms for the operator. Now, where things really change with this arrangement is if this type of a co-GP does have a solid balance sheet of their own. If they can provide certainty of close by committing capital, they become much more valuable to the sponsor. In these cases, they can often negotiate for a larger share of the GP interest because they're reducing risk for the sponsor. That said, some sponsors might just view these co-GPs as expensive LPs because their primary contribution is just raising LP capital, and they're not bringing any sort of operational expertise or balance sheet strength. Last but not least, we have the loan guarantee co-GP. And I saved this one for last because it's very possible that this arrangement can be an add-on to any of the previous arrangements that we've already discussed, or it can just be a standalone co-GP for the loan guarantee. And what I mean by that is that there are groups that provide loan guarantee. They have a significant balance sheet and they can help the sponsor qualify for the loan. So sometimes you have a group that's already going to be part of the GP team because of their operational expertise, or they're providing GP capital, like in the cases we've already discussed, or they aren't providing anything else other than the loan guarantee. So there you have it. These are the four main types of co-GP structures that we see in the private equity real estate space: true co-GP partnerships, co-GPs who bring GP money, co-GPs who bring LP money, and then loan guarantee co-GPs. Each type of structure plays a specific role in a deal and brings different value to the table. If you're an operator looking to scale or an investor evaluating opportunities, understanding these structures can help you navigate deals more effectively. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more private equity real estate content. Let me know in the comments if you've encountered any of these co-GP structures on your own deals, and as always, thanks for watching.